Welcome to the Kindergarten Introductory session. Please ensure that you are already familiar with the contents of the Liftoff to Letterland Introduction session and have a copy of the Kindergarten Teacher's Guide handy for reference and clarification. Now, let's kick off. This brief kindergarten session will cover the information that we expect children to become familiar with during their time in kindergarten. But please remember that pace should be in line with the children's needs. Assessment throughout the year will establish how the children are progressing and if they need intervention. As we go through each section, we will be sharing teaching strategies which you should practice. Please feel free to stop this presentation at any stage to refer to your teacher's guide or practice the technique. As we know, each child is an individual. They come to us with very different abilities and backgrounds, and regardless of what they know, we have to provide all children with the appropriate instruction. Fortunately, Letterland provides everything you need to support your students. Within the Letterland Kindergarten Pack, you will have all the instructional support materials necessary to begin your teaching. This may be an appropriate time to pause the presentation and check the materials that you have. You should notice that you have different types of materials like computer software, audio CDs, flashcards, all of those to suit your needs. We will look at the materials in more detail as we go along. You may not have chosen to add, for instance, the phonics readers to your order, but whatever you have should provide you with the material you need to introduce the children to the Letterland characters, their stories, and the various teaching strategies. It may be that you want to use more modern technology, in which case you may be interested to know that many Letterland titles are now available as ebooks in iPad, iPhone, and Kindle Fire format, while our songs can also be downloaded as MP3s. Additionally, we have award-winning iPad apps, which may also be useful to enhance your teaching approach. The phonics readers are progressively linked to the teaching within the teacher's guide and should allow practice of the skills being developed as the children's reading ability develops. For now, we're going to concentrate on seeing how the Letterland teacher instruction can help you achieve your goals for all of your children. The Teacher's Guide provides step-by-step daily lesson plans and includes a CD with hundreds of reproducible pages. The key features of our Teacher's Guides are that they are designed to provide a complete description of everything a teacher needs to do in the classroom each day. Hopefully, that will reduce your planning time, but flexibility and creativity remain vitally important, and the addition of your individuality is vital to bring any classroom to life. The guide also includes intervention ideas as well as a separate intervention strand, which incorporates benchmark assessments and has built-in progress monitoring. Okay, let's start looking at the contents of the Teacher's Guide. Section 1 features the Phonemic Awareness Fast Track. This section of the guide allows teachers to begin to close the gaps between the various pre-literacy knowledge and skills levels of understanding that children have when they first arrive in your class. So the Phonemic Awareness Fast Track provides an early, rapid, multisensory introduction and review of the 26 letters of the alphabet. Accompanying the teacher's guides are CDs, which includes hundreds of resources for both classroom and home use. Please take a moment to explore these materials. You will discover decodable text, word cards, song lyrics, the reader's theater, as well as assessment materials, and much, much more. Letterland has a close correlation with the Common Core state standards. More information about how Letterland delivers the standards can be downloaded from our website at letterland.com. Phonemic Awareness Fast Track provides a quick alphabet immersion within the first 18 to 25 days of school. We suggest introducing 2 letters per day during these first lessons. The goal is to introduce the characters to the children so that they will begin to gain understanding of letter-sound correspondence. But complete mastery is not expected by every child by the end of this very short period. In-depth instruction on each of the letters will continue as they progress through the year. At the end of the section, assessment will take place so that the teacher can judge the appropriate next steps. Phonemic awareness specifically focuses on the identification of beginning sounds and isolation of sounds along with an exposure to vocabulary and beginning sound relationships using materials like the ABC book and vocabulary cards. No one lesson includes all 6 activities found within the fast track procedure, but after Lesson 1, Quick Dash, as explained in the introductory training session, provides the review of the previously learned sounds. In Quick Dash, the aim is for the children to see the Letterlander and name them, and then see the plain letter and say the sound. As the children's experience and confidence develops, the teacher will be able to just flash the plain letter and the children will say the sounds without needing the character clue. But that's for later in the year.
Quick Dash. K. A. A. D. H. Hat, hen, hand.
Steps 2 and 3 encourage the children to become familiar with the sounds of the letters. The teacher says, "This is clever cat," and the children repeat it. This is the sound trick which allows them to hear clever cat sound at the start of the character's name, K. There are 3 vocabulary cards associated with each sound. They feature images and words which start with each of the letter's sounds. The cards also show other rhyming vocabulary, but we'll use that feature later in the year. At this stage, we share clever cat likes to whisper K at the beginning of words like cat, cake, and car. The specific word sort instructions are explained in the teacher's guide, but it's the class who helps to decide who gets which vocabulary card. This helps children to make meaningful connections between the character, the image, and the sound by constructing a sentence relating the character to the vocabulary word, like clever cat rides around Letterland in her colorful car. When introducing the alphabet line game, each child in turn should introduce their character by chanting appropriately, "I'm Bouncy Ben. I say B" in words like bed. The class should then repeat the chant in a rhythmic fashion. This is a fun way to help children build memories of alliterative words that match each character. This next activity is not actually introduced until Lesson 5 in the Phonemic Awareness Fast Track section. Children have to listen carefully to the sounds and then line up in order of the sounds they hear, or put the sounds on their arm in the right sequence, as we do in the roller coaster arm blending routine. Order Please gets children used to listening for sounds, remembering a sequence of sounds, and putting sounds on their arms. It also helps develop understanding of sequence, first sound, middle sound, last sound, etc. Assessment at the end of the Fast Track section helps you to find out what children have learned about letter sounds so far. In one school system, we found that children averaged about 19 correct sounds after these first 18 Fast Track lessons. Very few children knew fewer than 10 letters, but as we know, children vary. Before we move on to the next section, you may want to pause this video and look at your teacher's guide to work out how you might implement the Fast Track. Now let's move on to Section 2 within the teacher's guide. As time is short, the focus during the rest of this brief overview will be primarily on Section 2, which is the first 107 lessons. We'll mention the other sections, but the routines and strategies that we discuss will follow similar patterns, so they will eventually apply to your teaching of all of the subsequent sections. The teaching sequence, as set out in the guide, allows the same handwriting stroke to be practiced during the first 3 lessons, allowing children to get into a grooved pattern. Then, some useful letters for the first word building are added to the mix, so that after 7 letters, children are beginning to read words and spell them. The teaching order ensures that confusing letters such as B and D are separated by many weeks. The daily lesson pace can be adjusted in accordance with data, but not all teachers finish the entire curriculum covered in the teacher's guide in 1 year. This is not an issue as the curriculum spirals through grade 1 and 2 materials, and so review and progress work in harmony. Section 2 builds on from what the children have already learned in the fast track, but it uses a 5-lesson format. At least to begin with, each lesson is introduced over 2 days, and after the first 7 letters have been introduced, blending and segmenting lessons are interspersed with new letter lessons. Time to review is essential to encourage consolidation of knowledge. Towards the end of Section 2, some teachers find that children do not need 2 days spent on each letter, so they streamline the 2 lessons into one. This has to depend upon individual assessment of your class's progress. Multisensory elements are built into every lesson, and these strategies should be familiar to you after watching the Liftoff to Letterland introduction session. Live reading and other practice activities are used for the blending lessons, while live spelling is taught in the segmenting section. Some lessons will introduce both. The new letter day 1 does not have to fall on a specific day of the week. It's just the first day that a new letter is introduced. New letter day 1 focuses on the sound the letter makes in words, and so the review activity always takes the form of quick dash. The sound trick, action trick, and songs encourage children to hear sounds using a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic approach. The phonemic awareness and language development element includes making use of all of the questioning and discussion opportunities that are available when looking at the ABC book or playing alliterative games as described in detail within the teacher's guide. The teacher's guide explains clearly activities that are appropriate to be used with the whole class as well as for small groups of children or as independent activities. This means the activities become more independent over time as the similar format for each letter means children become more familiar with the suggested routines. New letter day 2 focuses on the shape of the letter, but in this case, the review activity starts with Guess Who, as explained in the Liftoff session. To reinforce the shape of the lowercase letter, we then use the big picture code cards and handwriting songs from the song CD or computer software. The uppercase trick and character name cards and other materials can then be used to further the children's understanding of both lower and uppercase letter shapes. After every 2 or 4 letters are taught, there's a review lesson. This starts with either Guess Who or Quick Dash, 2 familiar games for the children to enjoy, and then continues using a variety of resources including the alphabet songs, handwriting songs, capital letter games, or the ABC book. Activities recommended for small group and independent work include sorting beginning sound pictures, which can be found on the CD, matching capital and lowercase letter shapes, or completing activities from the downloadable My Letterland reading booklet. The final 2 concepts included in the 5-lesson format are blending and segmenting, and as we know, some lessons will include both. We will look at several different ways that you will teach blending and segmenting in these lessons. Several different activities for blending words are used in this section, including the roller coaster trick, which we know is a phonemic awareness strategy that carries into blending for word reading. All the children roller coaster the individual letter sounds using their arms to blend and read. The word flag, for instance, has 4 sounds, so children will need 4 points on their arms, from shoulder to wrist, for the sounds. They touch the 4 places for the 4 phonemes, then slide their hands down their arms, slowly blending the first 2 sounds, fl, and then repeating blending 3 sounds, fla, and finally blending all 4 sounds, flag. They should finally repeat the 4 sounds, this time picking up speed until the word is said with fluency. The flag flutters in the wind. Live reading helps the children get used to listening for their sound and playing the role of the character as they blend their sounds together and read the word. The instructions in the teacher's guide and on video clips provide detailed instructions and illustration for the delivery of this strategy, but practice is the key, so relax and enjoy it. The children will, And although some kindergarten teachers have said that children don't catch on to listening for their sound in live reading and spelling straight away, with practice, this becomes much easier and it allows the children to take possession of this new reading skill. Perhaps you'd like to pause the presentation at this point and practice this strategy using the instructions found in the teacher's guide. Another blending strategy is to make use of pocket chart reading. The teacher builds the word, which the children then sound out and blend to read. It's useful to then question them to ensure their understanding of the meaning of the word. Remember to always make sure you have a reading direction arrow on the chart. You can also use any magnetic letters to build words. Letterland's magnetic word builder has a reading direction arrow included in the artwork. So when the teacher names the sounds or letters and the children build the word, the concept of reading from left to right is reinforced. The children then use their finger to touch each letter and slide along to blend the sounds together. This sliding motion takes the place of blending the sounds together down our arms, which is what we do when we roller coaster. Remember, when blending, using any of the techniques described, you don't say the word. You call out the characters or sounds or letter names for children to build the words, and then they read them. If a more technological approach is wanted, a word-building app is available for use on tablets, or our Storyphonics software has a word-building feature.
Word building. Click on the cards you would like to build words with. You can change the font style or turn the characters on and off using the buttons shown. By clicking on a card in the preview window, you can hear the sound. By double-clicking a card, you can toggle the characters on and off. When you are ready, press Go to start building words. Up.
Segmenting encourages children to listen for the sounds in a word so that they can spell it. Children repeat the word the teacher has said, stretching and segmenting the word as they go. They hear each sound and then think of the letters needed to represent those sounds. This strategy starts with letter sound awareness within a phonemic awareness concept and continues into word spelling work. With live spelling, the teacher should say each word, use it in a sentence to clarify the meaning of the word, and then repeat it again. Meanwhile, the children say the word and then stretch it, jiggling out the sounds before forming the words with cards. Finally, everybody checks they have spelled the word correctly using the roller coaster trick. Segmenting or spelling can also be done using other resources, including a pocket chart, chalkboard, or the magnetic word builder. Blank spelling boxes can be found on the Kindergarten Teacher's Guide CD, and these allow each child to identify and then write the required letters when being asked to listen for the phonemes and segment a word. Now is a good time to review all of these strategies. Some key diagraphs will be introduced during these blending and segmenting lessons. See K, NG, SH, CH, and TH.
I'm talking Tess. I say T.
I'm Harry Hatman. I say H. We both think the thunder is too loud. Thunder.
These should be treated as if the children are learning a new letter, while remembering that the Letterland stories build on from what the children have already learned. This is a logical progression. There are a number of useful products which can be used to support this extension of the children's learning, including our Beyond and Far Beyond ABC books, straight picture code cards, blend and digraph songs, and Storyphonics software. Unfortunately, not all words in the English language follow a strictly phonic approach. For children, any word they cannot decode is called a tricky word. And in Letterland, we refer to irregular, high-frequency words as tricky words. We use specific strategies to help children practice and become more familiar with these tricky words. We use skywriting or air writing, where children repeatedly trace and spell words in the air, underlining them when they're done. We then repeat the activity, tracing the word on a tactile surface before finally writing the word. Some parts of the tricky word may be more easily explained, in which case picture coding may help the children realize that the word is not quite as tricky as first thought. In U, the yo-yo man is behaving as usual, while Mr. O is silent, which is shown by his hand over his mouth. And then Mr. U can be heard saying his name. The tricky word can be explained building on from the children's knowledge of the Letterland story approach. All of this is leading towards empowering the children to be able to decode text, to read, and then create their own text, to write. So the strategies should feel as if they are their own, so that they can use them as needed in any reading and writing situation. Assessment points occur throughout the teacher's guide, about every 20 to 30 lessons. These basic assessments, as well as additional assessments, can be used diagnostically for specific children, but should be used flexibly in conjunction with district-mandated assessments. But please, don't duplicate your efforts. We've covered a lot of information, so you may want to pause right now and review some of the strategies we've covered. More information can be found in the relevant teacher's guide and in video clips on our website at letterland.com/training/USA/videos. Section 3 of the teacher's guide addresses onsets and rhymes, where the emphasis moves to reading words and text. Onset refers to everything before the first vowel, and rhyme everything from the vowel onwards. Rhymes are also referred to as word families, and the goal is to make children familiar with common orthographic patterns and, when reading, to be able to more efficiently chunk words. This will eventually support syllable understanding. There are lots of practice activities that can be found on the Teacher's Guide CD, such as sorting pictures, matching pictures and words, sorting words, and written word sort. The strategies used are the same as those covered in Section 2 of the Teacher's Guide, but the aim is to enable children to use onsets and common rhymes to decode more efficiently and quickly by chunking the rhymes. Now children have developed more skills and can use word cards and picture cards in building and changing sentences on the pocket chart. For instance, the teacher might make a sentence which the children then read. "This rock is for you." Two children could come forward and one hand the picture of a rock, or even a real rock, to the other and say, "This rock is for you." The second child then changes the word rock to another word like hat. This child chooses another to come forward, hands that child the hat picture and says, "This hat is for you." Based on the structure of practice sentences, children can then write original sentences. The remaining sections are constructed as units, introducing various different spelling patterns for the first time, but still using familiar instructional activities. Assessments are placed at the end of each of the section. Each section develops the children's understanding and progresses from reading and spelling words to sentences and to reproducible booklets, or for the last two sections, a reader's theater play. There are intervention lessons throughout the kindergarten program, and each set is tied to the specific set of lessons within the kindergarten's teacher guides. Separate intervention training can be organized if required. Please contact training@letterland.com for more information. Thank you for watching this very brief session where we have tried to provide a short introduction to the kindergarten approach. Please refer to your kindergarten guide for more detailed instruction. You can also watch brief video clips explaining these and other strategies, including how Letterland addresses sight words, or tricky words. These videos can be found at our website at this link. Thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about Letterland. We know that when you start teaching Letterland, you'll feel the same way as these teachers. Remember, this was a very brief introduction to our program, and we're happy to provide any additional support that you might need. There are lots of free downloads and useful information on our website at letterland.com. Here's a list of all the useful links we've referred to throughout this introduction to Letterland video. You can also contact training@letterland.com for any further questions. We hope to see you in Letterland real soon.
Well done. Bye-bye. See you again soon.